So thanks for being here, Kyle. It's really a pleasure to do this interview with you. So, can you briefly introduce yourself for our readers?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Kyle Jenke. I'm the Chief Business Officer at Optimism. Um, for folks who are less familiar with Optimism, we're really the launchpad for enterprises that want to build blockchains. And today, about 70% of L2 transactions flow through OP chains, and about 15% of all transactions in crypto actually flow through OP chains as well. And so that's us.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. And what are the top features that usually enterprises are demanding from you from a layer two today? And how does the OP stack meet those expectations?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, enterprises want a partner that they can be confident in. And so if you look at a company like Optimism, we've worked with 35 different companies to launch chains. Coinbase launched based on us. Uniswap launched Uni on us. Kraken launched Inc. on us. Sony launched Sonium on us. And so they look for a partner that has a demonstrated track record of helping their customers be successful. So that's the number one thing that they look for. And the second is usually look for the ability to scale. Can their provider meet the demands of their workload? And then third is they're usually looking for privacy. Do we have a solution for privacy that meets their needs? It's especially true with like financial institutions and payments companies. And then lastly, fourth is customization. You know, these enterprises, they want to focus on their core business, but they also want to be able to differentiate themselves from their peers, and that customization in the chain is really important.
Yeah, of course. Well, one of the biggest name you mention is Sony. I mean, for the
Mm.
wider audience. So, what do companies like them see in your layer two ecosystem? What was impossible to find on earlier blockchain infrastructure or elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So take a partner of ours like Sony. They're a great partner. Our team actually right now is out in Japan, in Tokyo, actually literally meeting with Sony at this moment. But what they're looking for is Sony wants to focus on their core business while inheriting the best in class security and resiliency from Ethereum. And that's what Optimism offers. And what Sony is looking for is they're looking to build the best products that differentiate them from their competition. And so when they have the customizability of the OP stack, the privacy of the OP stack, coupled with the benefits of Ethereum, that's really what they're looking for. They just want to be able to focus on their core business and not worry about their chain.
Yeah, and in I was working in the beginning with Sony. I don't know, it's such a big company. I remember when you announced that it was such a big deal. I think it's still such a big news for your blockchain. But I mean, even a private perspective, how was it? Was it exciting to sign this deal?
Yeah, I mean, it's very exciting. Sony is a great partner. It's one of the largest enterprises in the world. It is a flagship company in Japan and in Asia. And that's really exciting for us to work with them. We want to be the launchpad for enterprises on blockchain. And Sony is a great example of that. And we're actually seeing Japan really active right now in the market. And so we're seeing the large banks very interested in working with us and other large technology companies in Japan right now. So there's a lot of activity there, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and talking about the future, what are the plans? What are the long-term roadmap? What are you working on right now?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what we're seeing in the market today. What we're seeing in the market is we're seeing a bunch of different um, verticals actually starting to compete. And so if you take the classic fintech, take like a Revolut, take a new bank, a fintech, a Robinhood, they're starting to offer crypto products. If you take a classic crypto company like a Coinbase, they're starting to offer financial products like the ability to buy and sell stocks and equities on Coinbase. And then if you take traditional financial services, they're actually moving into crypto as well. And so you've got fintech, crypto, financial services, they're all converging and they're competing. And they're competing over the same users and they're competing for usage of their products. And so what's really interesting to us is the ability to differentiate, to attract those users, and to keep those users sticky on your product. We see that as absolutely critical because of how competitive things are going to be in the future. And so that's what we're really focused on at OP is how can we help these enterprises differentiate their products so that they can compete against a very like competitive set. If you have Revolut competing against Coinbase, who's competing against Fidelity, that's intense competition in the market for a
Mhm.
single user.
Yeah. And also talking about stable coins, I think nowadays a lot of companies from different instruction, they are launching their own stable coins. What do you think about that? Do you think there will be a high competition? Is it good for the market to have such big competition between companies? It would be
Yeah, I think
maybe difficult, maybe also to decide which stable coin to use, or even not talking about stablecoin, as you said, there are a lot of apps competing. Would it be, is it good for the market or is it a bad thing for the final user?
yeah, well, I think it's great for the user, right? When you have competition, that usually drives innovation, that drives differentiation, which is good for the end user. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also excited to see, fintechs moving into crypto, financial services moving into crypto, and then crypto companies moving more into like traditional finance. Again, like Coinbase offering equities as an example. On stablecoins specifically, we're really seeing two benefits here. The first is enabling these enterprises to access new geos. Traditionally, if you're an enterprise and you want to move into a new market, you've got to leverage, third-party rails to be able to offer pricing, to be able to accept payment in these markets. Now with stablecoins, you can enter into these new markets so much quicker. So that's a real advantage as you're trying to build your business. And then the second is they want to capture the strong economics, especially in this interest rate environment, as you know. They want to be able to capture the economics of having their own stablecoin. And so we expect to see continued competition. Today, I believe there are 13 stablecoins that have over $1 billion of market cap. They're all US dollar denominated. It'd be really exciting to see a, say, euro based stablecoin with over $1 billion of market cap this year. That's something that we're talking to some enterprises about. But we expect competition to continue to increase here.
And you're being very optimistic, I would say. Sorry for the bad joke, but what are the bottlenecks on the other side that you are working on to in this year on your roadmap to support the next I don't know 100 enterprise developments?
Yeah. So right now we're squarely focused on solving the needs of large enterprises. And there's really two that we're talking to our customers about today. Um, and just for context, we, in addition to the 35 large customers that we have today, um, we're talking to about 100 large enterprises that are interested in building their own blockchains. These are some of the largest household names that you and your readers would be familiar with. And the feedback that we get are two things. Number one, they want us to continue to focus on throughput. And this is pretty straightforward. Blockchains need to be able to support tens, if not hundreds of thousands of TPS.
Mm.
And in certain gaming use cases, the throughput can even like surge more than that when there's high activity. So throughput is number one. Number two is actually the total cost to run a blockchain. Just an example, as you move into, smaller enterprises, the cost to support that infrastructure, the RPCs, the block explorers, the oracles, the stable coins, it quickly becomes quite expensive. And so we are building a platform that will allow these enterprises to lower the cost of actually coming on chain. And we think that's going to be really important for them.
Yeah, do you think you are solving the famous trilemma for the blockchain?
I think we are on a path to solving that. And we are also tightly working with these customers, listening to their needs, partnering with them. And, we're updating the OP stack to solve for the biggest things that they're asking for. The great thing about OP is we have 35 customers who have built blockchains on the OP stack. We're constantly getting feedback from those customers. Like I said, Base is giving us feedback. Uni is giving us feedback. Inc., Sony, OKX just launched on the OP stack. Upbit in Korea launched on the OP stack. Like these customers are giving us feedback so that we can build what they want. And we're really like clued in on that feedback.
Mm. I think one of the other things that are very interesting and useful for the end users is the fact that on-chain payments should be really invisible, like the UX and the usability should be so smooth that the end user shouldn't even know it's using the blockchain. So how do you think about that? What do you think that can be improved to reach this goal?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And, Brian at Coinbase, he talks a lot about this. And, we're in agreement there. If you are offering the best solution to your customers, it should be easy, it should be trusted. And it doesn't actually really matter to the end customer what infrastructure, whatever they're doing runs on, as long as it's easy, it's trusted, it helps them accomplish what they're trying to do. And that's why I'm really excited about, the wave of fintechs that are starting to build on top of crypto infrastructure, because I think they're going to bring a beautiful solution to their customers that will obfuscate, some of the crypto rails. I think Robinhood will probably do this well. I think Revolut will do this really well as like two examples of fintechs that we're really excited about.
Yeah, I think Base also, no, it's working on this super app with all the fintech products all united together. Um,
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, Base is doing an incredible job. Not only is it fintech, but it's also bringing in social products as well.
yes.
And, that's a little bit of a differentiated approach to a lot of companies. And we're super excited about that. You're seeing the traction and success that Base is getting. And, we're in the background powering a lot of that. Base is built on top of the OP stack. And, they're constantly giving us feedback about what they need to be able to serve their customers.
Yeah, we did an interview with the CPO, I think, of the Base
Okay.
app, so it was
Yeah.
really interesting. And
Awesome.
what are the metrics that you are watching to determine when the market reaches a true inflection point for enterprise grade entering on chain and using on chain finance?
Yeah. So there are a few things we're looking at. The first is we're looking for some early public indicators. Um, as an example, we want to see the Clarity Act. We want to see that come through. Second of all, there are some, expected opinions coming up from the SEC around like tokenized equities. We think that guidance is going to be really important for the market. Um, Second of all, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, we're talking to the top 100 enterprises, and these are household names. We talk with them regularly, and we measure how they are progressing through their on chain journey. We measure how they're going from discovery to evaluation to decision making to piloting to actually launching something to their customers. And that gives us a really unique view. And right now, when we look at that journey of these top 100 enterprises, we're really encouraged by what we're seeing. And we really feel like 2026 is the year. And I know you said I was being optimistic. One of our values at Optimism, we say, is to breathe optimism.
Mhm.
And on top of just breathing optimism, like we truly, truly feel, and we are seeing it in the data that we look at, that this is going to be a really important year.
Yeah, I swear I was not, I didn't do the joke on purpose. And yeah, so what do you think that would be the next trends for 2026?
Yeah. Um, like I talked about earlier, I think one of the trends you're going to see is these different verticals starting to compete with each other. And, fintechs are going to compete with centralized crypto exchanges, which is going to compete with traditional finance, which is going to compete with payments. And as they begin to compete, the differentiation they're able to offer is going to be absolutely critical to these companies winning. And so, as they are picking a partner or an infrastructure provider, they really need to pick one that's going to enable them to customize and differentiate. If you're going out and you're running on someone else's block space, it really actually limits how you can customize and differentiate yourself because you're beholden to those rules. And so, one of the big trends we expect is these enterprises will want to differentiate and they're going to need infrastructure, typically running their own blockchain that will allow them to do that.
That's great. So really, thanks a lot for your time, Kylie. And there is something else you would like to say to our audience?
I mean, we are incredibly excited about this year. We are locked in right now on serving enterprises. We're locked in on being the launch pad for those enterprises. And I really appreciate you taking the time. I enjoyed the conversation.
No, it's been really a pleasure for me. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Amelia.